My mom explained why she's always been partial to my sister. Trigger warnings. Child sexual abuse. Neglect. Okay, so I 17M have a twin sister, and if I'm being honest, our mom has always seemed more partial to her. She's always far quicker to give her hugs and compliments, and she seems a bit more emotionally distant to me. I've noticed it my whole life, and I've tried not to let it bother me, but things finally came to a head recently. I don't really want to get into the inciting incident that started this. Long story short, we've been looking at colleges, and I was upset because it seemed like she wanted my sister to stay local more than she wanted me to. And I told her she loved my sister more than me our whole lives, and she didn't give a shit about me, and I'm still not sure why. Today she came into my room and asked if we could talk, and she said there's something she felt it was time to tell me. Then she opened up about her childhood, something she's never done, and explained that her father abused her sexually and she had brothers who abused her too, and it instilled a deep disdain towards men in her. She told me she's been meaning to go to therapy and get help, but she told me it breaks her heart that she ever made me feel like she loved me less than my sister, and she's been trying my whole life to get the fuck over it and grow up, and that it breaks her heart that I haven't had the mom I deserve. She started crying and I hugged her and told her I loved her and she was a great mom and I was lucky to have her. Afterwards I suggested we go out to dinner, just the two of us, and I could pay, and she said she'd take me up on that under the condition she'd pay. So we had a really nice dinner and we talked and I felt I connected with her in a way I hadn't before. I can't really explain it, but I felt like I saw her and she saw me in a different, but good, way. Overall, I feel terrible because I feel like I made her trauma all about me. She's a wonderful person and I don't know why I'd accuse her of not loving me like she loves my sister. All I know is that I'm going to be better to her and understand she's doing her best, as we all are. Edit. Okay, yes, my mom has been making mistakes with not getting treatment and how she's been more partial to my sister than me. However, that doesn't mean she's a horrible mother like a bunch of comments are insinuating. She's a human being in pain and she was able to admit when she did something wrong, and just so everyone knows, she did make some calls and has an intake therapy appointment on Wednesday. If I made my mother sound like she hated me or was blatantly awful to me, she doesn't and she isn't. I love her and she loves me and we're gonna do better from now on. Relevant comments. This seems like an excuse. She has disdain for men, but seems to have married your father and had sex with him enough to make kids. I'd be less forgiving towards her than you have been, to be honest. She kinda ruined your childhood, and now is playing the woe is me card. OP replied, she didn't marry my father. Hell, I've never even met my father. I know it is late, but I am glad you are talking openly now. It will lead to a wonderful adult relationship if it continues. As a parent, there is a lot of guilt in not getting the treatment you need and seeing it come out as baggage in your kids. I do hope she gets therapy for her trauma. On another note, you may want to go to therapy as well, maybe with your mom, because you have not experienced physical love and it could be impactful on how you interact with your kids when if the time comes. I didn't get physical love from my father because he was also sexually abused, and as a result, I don't like being touched by people outside of my immediate family, my kids and wife. Maybe it's nothing for you, but keep your eye on it in the future in your familial relationships. Best wishes. OP replied, well, I have experienced physical love, just not as much as my sister. But just so you know, my mom gave me a good morning hug this morning and asked what the plan was for today. She's trying. Sorry to hear that and sorry for the late reply. But I'm asking, how were you conceived if she had such a level of hatred for disdain for men? OP replied, she promised she'd tell me that soon. From my understanding, we had an unplanned accidental pregnancy, and then our dad left at the last second. Comment, was the disdain before or after she met your dad? OP replied, that I'm not sure about. We'll figure that out. I just know my whole life she's always had the cynicism towards my male teachers and the dads of the kids who I was friends with as a child. She would even request a woman when someone needed to come to our place to repair something or anything like that. Update. A month later. So before I get into my update, a few things. First, people were asking about my father, and well, I've never met him. My mother has never told us about him aside from the fact that he left her to mother all by herself at the last second. Like really, all by herself. We don't have any family members we talk to. Additionally, people accused her of telling me the story to manipulate me and get herself a pass, and that's just not true. If you want to argue she wasn't taking care of herself in the way she should have, then sure, you're not wrong. However, she's not abusive or shitty like that. She's just a person in pain. Now on to the update. She goes to therapy on Monday afternoons, and I've been going with her to her sessions and we get dinner afterwards. To be honest, the main reason I started going with her was to make sure she goes. And that's been going well. She walked out of one session crying this month, but that's just how it goes sometimes. I've also been seeing eye to eye with my mom in a way I never have, and I've even been getting along better with my sister, who she also ended up telling about her childhood. And my sister has been insanely compassionate towards both me and our mom, and sometimes will intentionally leave my mother and I alone so we can bond. And don't make any mistake, she is trying her damnedest to connect with me. She's been asking me questions about my hobbies and engaging in them with me, and I do believe she's a great mom. I'll close this out with an uplifting story from a few nights ago. So my sister and I watched some TV together and were up late, so we started heading to bed but heard our mom in her bed crying. We looked at each other and neither of us knew why she was crying. But I know she's been in pain, so I went inside and without saying anything I lied down on her bed next to her. She stopped crying and seemed surprised. But then my sister came into the room and also without saying a word got into the bed next to us. My mom started crying again. A good cry this time. And gave us both a hug and said, "I love you guys." And the three of us all went to sleep together. It genuinely made me feel like my sister and I were little kids again. Obviously we had a lot less space than we did back then and were packed tightly together. But it was wonderful and reminded me of the old days when we'd all fall asleep together. Relevant comments. I'm glad to hear your mom is healing little by little. Just want to acknowledge how huge it is for her to not panic when you first went to cuddle with her. She was able to connect with you in a special way that she probably couldn't before. OP replied, "The cynical part of me wonders if she wasn't comfortable until my sister got in the bed. However, I'll still take it as a victory that she trusted me enough to fall asleep with me in that situation." Comment. I'm happy for you, sister and mom. Let the healing begin. Did you decide on a college? OP replied, I'm not smart enough for some of the big schools like my sister is. One of the reasons I thought my mom loved her more than me. And TBH, I've come to realize that goddamn, community college is seriously underutilized, so I'm probably gonna stay local. Also, a lot of the stuff I love relating to my hobbies is here, so that makes it a pretty appealing option. Comment. I'm not smart enough for the big schools like my sister is. Community college is a great opportunity. My child's grades through high school were average. They enrolled in community college. After 2 years, they decided school was cool. With 2 associate's degrees earned, they were accepted and enrolled in a state college, close to home. Bachelor's degree acquired. Now after applying for a master's program, they've been accepted by 13 different schools. So you never know. Please don't think that you're not smart enough. Some folks take a little longer to connect all the dots of life and receive what school offers. Also, good on you for sticking with your hobbies. OP replied, one of the managers at my job told me if he could do it all over again, he'd go to community college then transfer. It's so much cheaper too. Comment. Given what she went through, mom's side and dad's side could be the same side. No, our mom has assured us this is not the case. I thought of it and asked her, and she got pregnant with us after she left home when she turned 18. Update. OP posted this. These comments sum up everything I hate about Reddit. I see a lot of comments creating a narrative and making assumptions based on what I shared, such as me not getting my own therapy or my sister and I being the product of grape. We're taking it one step at a time, and yes, I am receiving my own therapy despite the assumptions of so many commenters. Additionally, yes, I am battling some complicated feelings of my own with being angry at her for waiting so long to get help and thinking that was okay. But I'm saving those feelings for the therapy office until I'm ready to talk to my mom about it. Even though you may not be wrong that she was being a bad mom for going so long without therapy, there is absolutely no need to get angry on my behalf. You can interpret my defensiveness as me not wanting to admit that what has been said is true. But I just really don't care for people on the internet making assumptions about me and my family based on one snapshot I decided to share. Update 3. So I figured I'd post another update. I've made posts about my mother who explained to me how she was sexually abused by all the men in her childhood, which is why she's always seen as partial to my twin sister, and you can just go to my post history to see the full story because I don't particularly care to summarize it again. This one's not as happy. Ever since I first confronted her about it, I've had this sense of resentment towards her I'd been trying to compartmentalize and deal with later, or at least in my own therapy sessions. As of late, it's been getting harder to ignore them. And over the weekend, I lost my temper and yelled at her, asking why she thought it was okay to wait so long to get help, and how she probably wouldn't have done anything if I didn't call her out for her bullshit. She heard me out and started to cry and said the only thing she can say is I'm right. And I've always deserved a mom who would outwardly love me as much as my sister, and it breaks her heart. I didn't get that mother, and all she can say is she's sorry and hopes I can forgive her someday. I didn't say anything in return and just left the house. I haven't confronted her since, and I know she feels bad, and the shitty part of me feels good about that. But I know she needs all the support she can get, so it's just a shitty situation all around. This is probably above Reddit's pay grade, but I figured I'd post it anyway. Relevant comments. Have you had the chance to talk to someone about it? I think this is something you'll feel for a long time. If you don't talk to someone about it, it might affect other parts of your life. OP. Yeah, I'm seeing a therapist. Comment. She cried. Her tears are to make you feel guilty for calling her out. Until she shows you an improvement in her treatment of you, don't fall for the tears. OP. For what it's worth, she has shown an improvement over the last few months. Like, I'm a big movie buff and she's been asking to watch movies with me a lot as of late, which she didn't do before, and she's making more of an effort to talk to me about my day in school and even the girl I've been talking to. Maybe she didn't realize just how much her actions were hurting me and is trying to do what she can to fix it. Comment. She doesn't need support. She needs to end the pity party and start supporting the son she has neglected all this time and not keep doing the same thing. OP. Part of me wants to agree with you, but she is in a lot of pain. She is the parent. As a parent, she needs to suck it up and be a fucking parent. She hasn't your entire life. OP. You know what? For the time being, I'm going to agree with you. I'm not feeling compassionate right now. Update. I was thinking today and randomly remembered a year ago, 18M, posted about me telling my mom that she's obviously always loved my twin sister more than me, and then he explains how she grew up in a house with a father and brothers who regularly sexually assaulted and raped her, and she projected that disdain towards men onto me. Since then, my mother, my sister, and I have been seeing our own individual therapists, and we've had several group sessions together. So today, my sister is away at college, and I stayed local and went to community college. Something I mentioned in my old post that my mom was pushing me to go away to school and encouraging my sister to stay local. Funny how that happens. Anyway, my sister is coming back home this week for the holidays, but I've honestly really enjoyed it here with my mom. She's been making an effort lately to engage with me with things I'm passionate about, and I'm a big movie fan, so I've been showing her my favorite movies over the past few months. She's made an insane amount of progress as well, and I'm so proud of her. And we have a wonderful relationship. It certainly wasn't always pretty over the past year, and even though the work isn't always easy, the payoff is certainly worth it. So yeah, we're doing a lot better than we were when I made that original post last year. Relevant comments. I am happy that your life and your relationships are improving, but I can't help but to feel that if a future parent has that much baggage, they should resolve it before having children or refrain from having them. It is unfair to the child. OP replied, something I forgot to put in the post. She told us a little bit about the circumstances around our birth. It wasn't as awful as I was dreading, but long story short, we were unplanned, and it sounds like she was more or less bullied into bringing us to term. Comment. This is a sweet update. Thank you for taking the time to help your mom feel more comfortable. OP replied, and I'm happy she took the time to understand she was hurting me. Team effort. Comment. I'm so glad to hear you guys are doing better. If you want any good Christmas movie recs, Klaus on Netflix is a cute one. OP replied, one of my online friends recommended this to me. I've been trying to stay away from anything involving violence towards women or anything just overly violent for my mom's sake, so this would be a good one to watch.